Welcome, welcome. I'll get myself dressed here in my fancy duds. Welcome to everybody who's here, and welcome. Oh, welcome. So good to see you all this morning. Good morning. Welcome to those who are here, and welcome to our folks watching this remotely, and welcome to those of you who will watch this later, because right now you're over at the Moose Lodge getting us set up. This is a welcoming community, and we are so glad that you are here. I'm Reverend Dr. Claudia Hall. My pronouns are she or they, and I am so delighted to be here as the minister. I'm so glad to see our friends, our returning friends, and our new friends here in this place this morning. And I hope that we'll all take some time today at lunch and get together and just fellowship with one another and to reach out to somebody we don't know and offer them a welcoming hand. Let us welcome everyone to this home of comfort, justice, spirit, and hope, for we are Unitarian Universalists. An important ritual in our Unitarian Universalist faith is the lighting of our chalice. We have many different interpretations of our chalice, including the light of reason, the warmth of community, and the flame of hope. As an expression of leadership in our community, our children get to come forward every week and light our chalice. And today we have a brand new visitor, Owen, who stepped forward and said, yes, I want to be the one to light our chalice today. So we're super excited. So Owen, we are ready. If you want to come on forward. Can you light our chalice? And the rest of us, we invite you now to join with us as we say our unison words projected on our screen. Perfect. The symbol of the love at the center of all we think, feel, and do. This chalice in thanks for all who came before us, who live on in our rituals and memories. We light this chalice in thanks for all who are here now, who create community with their loving actions. And we light this chalice to remind us that love must be nurtured and kept burning through intention and action. As you're willing and able, will you join me in a spirit of prayer and meditation? Spirit of love, bringer of change, we gather this morning faced with a change to our very identity, with how we present ourselves, with the expression of our very being as Unitarian Universalists. This is an uncomfortable moment for many of us, filled with insecurity and change of disharmony as we seek to find our way, to learn new language, and to find our way forward with new expressions for who we are. May we be gentle with ourselves and with each other. May we learn together, trusting that all involved want the beloved community to flourish. And may we continue to trust this day and every day that there is a place in that community for us and those we love. Amen, and blessed be. I invite you all to take a moment this morning and to greet folks you don't know as well. We've got a lot of new and returning folks this morning. And then we'll start singing our first hymn, number 287. it's a tradition that we have here at the Metro East UU congregation to place each service within the larger sources and principles that we as Unitarian Universalists hold dear. While we are a religion that has no requirement of creed or belief, we do have things that we support overall, and apparently one of those things is never-ending change. For many of us, especially if you have joined since the 1980s, which has been a little bit, we have been UU, and that's been synonymous with at least some of the 7 principles or 8 principles, depending on when you come around. But just a few weeks ago at General Assembly, which is our large denominational meeting, the vote was held to change Article 2 of the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association, which is where the 7 principles and the 6 sources was held. This was done in part for legal reasons. Every so often, nonprofits have to update their bylaws. It's part of the legal rigmarole you have to go through. And in fact, we here at Metro East will be doing that this year. Mary has taken on that task along with Reverend D, and they will be updating those behind the scenes and hopefully with a little less theological shift. But also we're doing it for theological and social reasons in the UUA. In the 60s, when the Unitarians and the Universalists merged, individualism and academic thinking was the core of the faith, most especially on the Unitarian side. Unitarians were known for their academics. Harvard was a Unitarian divinity school. They were known for their academics. They were known for their thinkers. They were known for their individualism. People like Thomas Jefferson, when he is quoted in Unitarian circles, was known for that individualistic streak that was brought to religion. It was about freedom of belief, freedom being emphasized often at the expense of relationships. Now that made sense back in a time when the question was not whether you went to church, but what church do you go to? But today, simply saying that you have freedom doesn't make as much sense because religiosity as a whole is down. People are freer than ever to not choose religion at all. So instead, we have to answer now not just why our faith is superior to some other faith, but we have to answer why we are better for an open-minded, empathetic, justice-seeking liberal person than just staying home and sleeping in on Sunday mornings. Let me tell you, this morning after a 3-day migraine, sleeping in sounded really good. So the question is, why should we get up in the mornings and get dressed and come down here? Because of this, the UUA realized that the bylaws needed to be changed. So in proper UU fashion, what we did is we organized committees, and we talked. And there were fun graphics, and there were votes, and there were arguments over word choices. There were, and I do not make this up, over 50,000 comments on one of the word choices for one of the proposed amendments. Welcome to Unitarian Universalism. Now again, at the end, a vote was taken that nobody was completely thrilled about, and that left a lot of people upset about what was left in and what was left out. Now here's the thing, and this is really important, because for some folks, the 7 principles are a fundamental part of their spiritual journey. We have no creative belief. You are welcome to use those 7 principles for the rest of your existence, and I think that is perfectly valid and fine. I especially think that we should use up the things that we already have because it would be wasteful to throw them in the trash. But as these new statements start to unfold throughout the Unitarian Universalist Association, I do want to lift up something that we're already doing here, and that is that we say everything is rooted in covenant. It is not enough to say we have this value. You also have to say, and because we have this value, we're going to do things in a certain way. Covenant with ourselves, with each other, and with the world is what makes us distinct. We are free, we say, but because we are free, we're choosing to live in healthy relationships with ourselves and tending and nourishing our bodies and our minds and our hearts. We are living in healthy relationships with each other. with other human beings and other entities we share this planet with. This isn't easy, and so we are also having a process to repair relationships when we inevitably mess things up. Change is hard, but life is change. And so as we go forward into this new year, my encouragement and what makes me get out of bed and get dressed and come here every Sunday when I'm here, and even on the Sundays when I'm not, what makes me get up and tune in and to pay attention is the fact that it makes me better than I was before. It helps me progress along the path of the values that I know are important, the things that I know do make a difference in the world, the ways that contributing in my own heart and in the lives of others does change things. It won't look the same as the 7 principles, and we won't have the cool little kids song anymore that most of us bebopped to for a while. I know, right? But we will still lift up love and hope and justice. We will still support one another in our community, and we will still value covenant as how we create a beloved community. We rise and fall together. So when you are scared or hurt, reach out. That is what church does, that nobody else does the same. You know, your coworkers, when you're in a slump, are not the best people to reach out to. We've all been through that, right? You think your coworkers are there to support you, and then all of a sudden, the backstabbing starts, or the backtalk starts, or the problems start, or the boss that was so good to you before, all of a sudden is like, you want 12 weeks off to do what? How long does cancer treatment really take? You know, all of a sudden it becomes a problem. The landlord that was so good to your business before, as soon as you start having issues, may not be as good for you. But the community that you build here will be. That is the changeless core that gives us hope, even when how we talk about it changes again and again. Amen and blessed be. As we take time to celebrate our covenants, one of our covenants with each other is the time that we take for joys and concerns. It's a very simple action. The people who want to come forward, take a stone or many. Sometimes we need a lot of stones to represent a lot of things we carry. And we place them in the water. We let the water of this bowl wash away the fear that we bring and let it hold us in community. It's a simple thing, but it's also very profound. And it is in that spirit of prayer, meditation, and community that I invite you forward at this time. We come now to probably one of my favorite parts of the service, which is when I try to find something that will both express in kids' language and in our language the things that I want to convey in the purpose of the service. I've decided that at least for a little while we're going to be doing banned books here. You know, Missouri is in one of the top 5 states in the nation. for how many books they like to ban. And as somebody who lives in the state of misery, I want to just really promote the reading and the enjoyment of banned books. Today's story is written by Father Scott Stewart to honor his child, Cullen. And apparently the fact that a dad loves his gender-diverse child is so scary that it has to be banned, because dads can't love their kids. That's just terrifying, apparently. So, this is actually one of the most banned books in America right now. So I invite you all to enjoy this heartwarming story of love beyond boundaries, which is appropriate for all ages and colors.
My shadow is purple. My dad has a shadow that's blue as a berry, and my mum's is as pink as a blossoming cherry. There's only those choices, a 2 or a 1, but mine is quite different. It's both, and it's none. If theirs are straight, then mine is a circle, for my shadow's different. My shadow is purple. My shadow loves playing with all sorts of toys, things loved by girls and things loved by boys. I dance with the pinks as they turn and they spin, and play sport with the blues as they lose and they win. Some of my friends think I'm simply confused, but the thing I love most is not having to choose. Some tell me I'm blue, only blue can be strong, but my mum's strong too, so I think they're wrong. Some tell me I'm pink, 'cause pink's the most caring, but dad's always crying and loving and sharing. Why can't I love sport, and dancing, and trains, and ponies, and glitter, and engines and planes? Why must I choose and exclude all the rest? I love choosing both, because both is the best. And now it is time for the greatest event. The school dance is here, the invite's been sent. I'm ready to rock, and I'm feeling cute. My mum made my skirt, and my dad made my suit. I bounce through the door and gasp as I enter. The room's split in two, right down the center. Blue shadows go left, and pink shadows right. Once we're split up, we'll kickstart this night. Everyone laughs as they head to their zones, and right in the middle, I'm left all alone. I look to the left where the shadows are blue. They wave me over saying, "You are blue too." Then I look to the right as I struggle to think. They call me over, "Come on, you are pink." The teacher walks up looking rather amused. "I know you are different, but now you must choose." My heart just starts racing, and tears fill my eyes. I know I must choose, but don't understand why. The room has gone quiet, and everyone's looking. My cheeks are so red they feel like they're cooking. If I cannot be purple, then I cannot stay. I'll leave and go home, I quietly say. I slowly start walking, my legs are like jello. A voice breaks the silence. "My shadow is yellow." My eyes open wide, my shadow it gawks. A child walks to the middle, looks up and talks. There's more than two colors our shadows can be. I was too scared before, but blue is not me. I know from outside blue fits like a glove, but my shadow's yellow, which to me feels like love. They turn with a smile and take hold of my hand. "Who wants to join us? There's room here to stand." At first no one moves, then a hand's in the air. My shadow's as brown as a big grizzly bear. My shadow is red, mine's silver, mine's green. Mine's violet, mine's orange, mine's aquamarine. They all rush to join us, whatever their color. Blue, pink, and purple, and shadows called other. I look at each shadow, no two are the same. On each happy face, there's no trace of shame. Each different and special and fully unique. No color's stronger, and no color's weak. The teacher comes over as we're joined as one. Whatever your color, start dancing. Have fun.
Our next hymn is number 194, Faith is a Forest.
In which doves play and hide. Inside can hear the still small voice lead me into this tender day. Speak through me in all I do and say. Fortune and famine ride the swift winds of chance. Sorrow and pleasure seem united in dance. Web of life, may this thread I weave. Mingle passion with all I believe. Mercy be my guide as I seek my way. Lead me into this tender day. Speak through me in all I do and say.
Well, good morning again, everybody. And for those of you wondering why I chose a children's story about gender diversity for a sermon series on Article 2, pay attention. As we all know, this year is a little bit critical for some things going on in America today, like democracy. On all levels, big and small, we face challenges. And one of those challenges is really how we talk about ourselves thanks to the vote at General Assembly. You know, the official language of who we are as Unitarian Universalists has changed a lot. And if you read the comments on the UUA forums, which I don't recommend, just never read the comments ever on anything. On the internet, don't read the comments. That's just a general life rule, right? But really, if you do, you will see a lot of people that think there are only two options. For people who want to embrace the rainbow of choices in life, we tend to very quickly fall into an us-them binary. Either you want the 7 principles or you want the rainbow flower, and that is it. These folks see no overlap, no continuity, no ability to choose and blend and shade between the two. To read the comments, you would think that some of these shifts are the literal end of the world, and that people were being forced to adopt the rainbow flower at sword point, as though it was some kind of forced conversion. The truth is that we have no creed. We never have. And that's really distinct and unique among denominations, especially those that came out of the Christian church, because we have never had something that you had to believe. The new Article 2, Section C-2.5 says, and I quote in full, freedom of belief, congregational freedom, and the individual's right of conscience are central to our Unitarian Universalist heritage. Congregations may establish statements of purpose, covenants, and bonds of union, so long as they do not require that members adhere to a particular creed. In other words, it is perfectly valid, as I said before, to keep using the 7 principles. Nobody, including the UUA, can or will stop you. There are no forced conversions in Unitarian Universalism. As a group, though, we tend to be people that carry a lot of trauma. And I think that what happens is that change triggers the trauma, and it sends it spilling out in a whole bunch of unhealthy ways unless folks are willing to get real and be vulnerable and do a lot of work. A lot of work about saying, wow, am I really mad at this person at this UU congregation across the country that I've never met? Or am I mad about the fact that when I was in 3rd grade and I questioned the Sunday school teacher, they told me to sit down and be quiet? Right? Who am I really mad at? Where is this really coming from? And the thing is that whatever has happened and whatever trauma you walk in the doors with, I am not blaming you. To this day, when people mention the United Methodist Church, my trauma level goes like from 0 to like 1,000. It's like instant, wah! You know, the cat tail just goes poof, right? And it's about 10 times bigger. And then when you add on to our trauma individually, collectively, the last 4 years have not exactly been easy, right? Something about the things that happened between the years 2016 and 2020, and then 2020, there was this little thing called COVID, and it's really been a lot. And because of that, I feel like there's so much fear, and there's so much stress, and most people just want this one thing to stay the same so they can just know what to expect. And as a congregation, we certainly have had a lot of that going on in the last year. And when we're afraid as people, we tend to lash out. You know, our little lizard brain kicks in and it says, lash out, push everybody else away, keep us from getting hurt. And I get that. And it's okay to be scared. Life is uncertain. Things are upside down, and I wish that I could confidently predict that American voters will do the right thing in November and that there will be peace in this country. My ulcer would like me to be able to predict that there would be the right things, right? But I don't know what's going to happen in November. I don't know what's going to happen to our congregation. You know, a lot of folks with the discussion about what's been happening with the building, and are we moving, and are we buying, and are we staying, and are we going, there's a lot of fear and a lot of trauma responses and a lot of folks that are lashing out. And the truth of the matter is, folks, is I did not get a crystal ball in seminary. Nobody came up to me and said, here is your ball so you can see the future of every congregation you serve. That would be lovely. I need that and the magic wand that I could point at people's problems and make them go away. If there's a seminary that gives those out, let me know and I will enroll again tomorrow for another degree, because that certainly did not happen at the one I went to. And the thing is that we all know it. We all know how fragile we are. Every one of us who has been through trauma in life knows everything can change in an instant. You know, you go to the doctor thinking that this little spot or this little lump is nothing, and they say, oh, it's no big deal, but we'll biopsy it just to be sure. Oh boy. Oops. Life has just radically shifted, right? You're pulling out of a parking lot and some person is flying along, and all of a sudden your life has radically shifted. You're going along your day thinking that everything is fine. I see this every single time I go to the hospital. No human being that I've ever met thinks when they become pregnant, oh, I bet my baby's going to end up in the NICU for 9 months. Nobody that I've ever met makes the decision to have a child thinking, wow, wouldn't it be amazing if they were the first person on the planet with this genetic mutation? Believe me, that was not on my radar when I had my first child. The idea that somehow we would strike 1 in 8 billion odds, and that they would be odds like that. Instead, human beings are wired to go about our lives pretending like all of these terrible things will never happen to us. Most of human existence is living and figuring out how we push that knowledge aside. Because if we spent our time being truly aware of how fragile and vulnerable we are, we would never get anything done. We would just sit there in like a little babbling heap, because everything is bigger than we are, and everything can wreck us. And the thing is that is one of the things that brings us to the first of our new values. Now, it was the last value in the old system, and I think that this is theologically important. You see, under the old principles, independence was the core, right? So we started with independent thought and independent thinking and all this head stuff that we inherited from Unitarianism. The individual and individual freedom and individual stuff. And really that reflects a patriarchal and a capitalistic model. The success of the individual is what matters. And it matters more than the suffering it might cause to others down the road. And we see this right now so much in the politics that are playing out. Rather than coming to a compromise on anything, right? So there was a congressional program that was 99.999% popular. The left, the right, the center, everybody loved this, okay? What the program did was it subsidized people getting high-speed internet. So if you were in the city and you were low income, if you were in a rural area and you didn't have good access, no matter what it was, this program helped people get high-speed internet. Republicans and Democrats and independents and non-voters, and everybody could get this. Everybody loved it. It was a smashing success. But our Congress is so polarized right now that even instead of passing a law that everybody loved, like this was a no-brainer, they decided to let it lapse because they wanted to fight with each other. So instead of even doing the basic stuff that everybody is okay with, they would rather posture and parade than do their job and care for their constituents. More moderate Congress people have left in this last couple of cycles than ever in my lifetime. And the number one reason that they have cited for resigning, quitting, walking away is the dysfunction and an inability to get anything done. The handful of people in Congress that weren't just there to serve themselves, that they actually wanted to care for their constituents are like, I can't do anything, I'm out, I'm done. And the thing is I see this kind of patriarchal capitalistic model in my neighbors. Now, I am very, very blessed, and I live in a really nice neighborhood. And the thing is that Missouri, in its infinite wisdom, decided that it was going to take and do a property tax freeze on older people. Not people that, couldn't afford it, just a certain age, which makes no sense whatsoever. Let's keep property taxes low for the people who have no money, but instead they did it by age. So what happened is all my older neighbors who are living in homes that are worth high six figures are racing to get tax freezes, even though they both had good jobs and both had great pensions, and they can afford to pay. And when I asked, why are you doing this? They said, well, I don't need to pay school taxes. My kids are grown. And I said, but don't you think all children deserve an education? Well, but, and I said, but don't good schools keep our neighborhoods strong? Don't good schools produce kids that are less likely to have problems? Don't we want our kids to, grow up and be nurses who know how to measure doses of medications? Like basic stuff? And I look at this and I'm thinking to myself, my child is in private school because we're helping a friend, but, I still want to pay my Lindbergh school taxes because I want the children to have a good education. I want teachers to earn enough money that they don't have to work a second job. This should not be rocket science. Can we please pay sports people less and teachers more? Hey, what an idea. Nobody, teacher or parent, should have to subsidize classroom supplies for everybody. Schools should have enough money to do that. You got 30 kids in a class? They should have enough glue sticks. This is not rocket science. So why is Missouri taking all of these things away? Because the dysfunction in the patriarchy says, well, only certain people deserve to succeed. Now, I have a lot of issues with Missouri. Lots and lots of issues. I could go on for days. I won't. But, book bans, lousy teacher pay, and bathroom policing are all way up there on my list. But I pay my taxes even though I'm mad at some of the ways it's used, because there's a lot of things that these kids get, even from the lousier school districts, and I need to contribute for the system to work. This is interdependence. My neighbors come from a different system, which is the whole NIMBY system, right? Not in my backyard. Sure, somebody should do something about the homeless people over there. We don't want it to be here, because then they might be in my neighborhood. Well, folks, they are in our neighborhoods, and if we don't help the people to have a residence that they can actually be in, if we don't help these people get the mental health care that they need, then they're self-medicating with street drugs, and then they're out breaking into your cars, and then, the things that are happening. If we can help the people not get to that point, right? Oh my gosh, let's try intervening in problems before it's the bottom and the end of the world. Whoa! But no, not in my backyard. Push it away. Make it somebody else's problem. Send it down the road to preferably a poorer community with people whose skin are not the same color as mine, so I don't have to think about it. That's the old way. The new way that we're learning is that we can't do this anymore. Low-lying countries are already paying the price for our gas-guzzling ways. It is not normal for Missouri to have no snow. You know, even when I moved here, now I have not lived here my whole life, right? I grew up in Florida, but I moved here in Missouri in 2001. Humongous ice storm, over a foot of snow that year. In just the 20 some odd years I've lived here, I've watched the snow go from feet a year to inches a year to a dusting. We can no longer pretend that the actions of one person or another don't affect us. This is why in the rainbow flower, interdependence is at the top. Yes, love is at the center, but the first expression of it is interdependence, because we need all of us if we're going to meet the challenges before us. And the thing is that we have to constantly be pushing our own growing edges. And this is awkward. You know, we have to know the difference between real pain, where we have to stop and get help, and what I call workout sore, where it's a little uncomfortable and painful, but we need to push that edge, right? So I'm in physical therapy for my knee. And really the crucial thing, if any of you have been in physical therapy, I know at least a few of you, right? You always have to get to this point. You want to be sore, and then you want to go a little bit more, but you don't want to go over into the point where it's, oh gosh, too far, right? And it's like this fine line, right? Like two exercises too far, and you've gone from, yes, I'm strengthening, to, oh crud, I just made it worse. And the thing is that we can't rush it. You have to be really tuned in when you're doing these exercises. You have to really pay attention, because if you're chatting away with the therapist about what you're doing for the weekend and you're just cranking through them, I say this knowing I've done this past week, as a matter of fact, you know, and then I went to do it and my knee dislocated. And I was like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have done that. And what that did is it just put me back a couple of weeks because I wasn't paying attention. The same is true of us spiritually, that we have to make the time to pay attention to our growing edges. Now, I know that it's really hard, because there are people that are probably twice my age in physical therapy, and I see them lifting the big heavy weights and doing the giant squats and doing the things, and I'm like, boy, I feel really lousy that I can't do the things that these people are doing. But just like physical therapy, spiritual work, you can't compare yourself to anybody else. There are other people who have had it worse than you. There are other people who have overcome whatever. You can only judge yourself by yourself, right? So it's all about knowing where your growing edge is and pushing your own self and being really tuned in to where is that line of, okay, it's good workout sore, but not too far, because I don't want to break something and have to go slide back. And you have to be really, really tuned in. And just like in physical therapy, you know, you don't just do these exercises by yourself and get them off the internet. Why? Because you need somebody to make sure you're doing them right. You need somebody to help you on the way. You need somebody to help you pay attention, that can catch you before you're doing it wrong too long and really mess something up. That's the point of church. It's a place you can come and get that feedback and get that work with others. And somebody can say, hey, have you read this book? Hey, have you tried this thing? Hey, we've done this thing. Hey, you want to go to dinner? It looks like you're really struggling. Hey, is there anything I can do to help? You know, let me make you dinner. The number of times that a casserole taken to someone who's having a rough week makes a life and death difference is immeasurable. When I talk to people who have been through such difficult times, they say over and over again, what matters is that I was remembered. So it's totally okay to push that edge, and you're going to make mistakes. You're going to push too far. You're going to need to come back. It's okay. You know, there are weeks I don't make time for meditation, or I slept badly, or I have a migraine and I get snippy in a meeting, or Robin said to me yesterday, she goes, Claudia, you're not smiling, you're grimacing, you should go home. You know, because I was migrating. She's like, how are you doing? I was like, she's like, go home, you know. And that's the thing though, sometimes you need that other person to say, this is not workout sore anymore, this is hurting yourself sore, stop it, go home. And that's important. Forgiving yourself and being okay with whatever your own limitations are is a spiritual practice. What's not okay is using your pain or trauma as an excuse to keep acting badly. Cough, certain people in this political cycle, cough. It is not okay to say, well, I was treated badly as a kid, so now I'm going to be abusive to my spouse. It's not okay. If you understand that you were treated badly as a kid, then it's up to you to go get the therapy and do the spiritual work and the mental work, the emotional work to get better. I once was talking to a person who told me that their problems with the Bible were because they were treated terribly and it was used to abuse them when they were a child. And I said, okay, I can understand that. We have a lot of people in the UU church that have trauma from that. This person was 65, and I said, so what have you done about it since? I'm not saying that what happened to you is right. It wasn't. But if that happened to you when you were 12 and now you are 65, the spiritual life, you can't just stay put. If I stay at home and I don't do my exercises, this knee is going to freeze, it's going to keep dislocating, and I'm going to be in a brace for the rest of my life. That's what's going to happen. Or eventually I'm not going to be able to walk. That's what's going to happen. Spiritually, the same thing happens, right? If we just freeze and we don't try to grow as people, we will turn into those bitter, nasty people that did terrible things to us. We know what we'll wind up being if we let that happen. And it doesn't mean that we're going to constantly be making great progress. Like I said, it's forward, it's back, it's forward, it's back, it's forward, fall off to the side, come around the long way, climb back up. It's never a linear journey. But the truth of the matter is that this community is here to help with that. It's here to help guide us as a community. It's here to help, offer ideas and suggestions. It's really important to know what it is that's getting to us. And it's really important for people to hold one another up, to help us share that burden. I got totally off of my sermon that I'd written, but it's really okay because it's mostly the same thing. One of the things that I think is important is that we do have to learn how to fight fair. And I think that it's important for us to know that we will fight. There are some disagreements. There were disagreements about selling the building. There were disagreements about moving. There were disagreements that we're having now about, is it time to buy? Is it time to not buy? We don't know. And it's okay. What's not okay is to fight badly, right? We're allowed to fight, but we got to fight fair. And what I mean by that is that the relationships that survive are the ones where you realize it's the two of you against the problem, not the two of you against each other. So right now, as a community, we have an amazing problem. We're growing. This is a great problem. Okay, this is a low Sunday. Half our members are somewhere else. And we've still done a really good job of starting to fill up this space. So we have a good problem. We're growing. We have a not good problem. Rent is really expensive. Way more than we can afford if we're not here. So the question is, should we buy? Well, buying a building is millions of dollars expensive. So that's out. So the board has an option. We can buy a chunk of land, maybe build a building down the road. We have questions. We'll get answers. And we're going to keep going back and forth. This is not a one and done thing. This is a dialogue. The board is not the enemy. As soon as people start thinking about the board like they're different from the congregation, the board is members of the church. The board is the congregation. This is us together trying to fix a problem. This is not people versus the board. It's the same thing whenever we are working on any kind of issue. It isn't you versus the other person. It is the two of you versus the issue. And when we can remember that, when we can remember that we need to depend on each other and face the problem, rather than let our own trauma and fear and pain clash with the other person, when we remember that we are interdependent, then we can get to the better world, that beloved community that we're trying to do. At the end of the day, the old principles and the new values share most of the same words, actually, if you go through them line by line. There's a shift from thinking to action. There's a shift from independence and my rights to interdependence and responsibilities. There's a shift because it's not about what can the UUs do for me, but what can I do with my community. I might not agree with what some people say, but I do agree that this community should be the best it can be. I seriously, truly, deeply, and forever will hate the rainbow flower. I'm not going to lie. It's dumb. It's a really dumb thing. It's a dumb reason that I hate it. I hate it because the rainbow goes counterclockwise. Drives me absolutely nuts. It really is. It absolutely just drives me up a wall. But you know what? I will wear it on my shirt. I will hand it out in brochures, and I will invite people into this faith because I believe to the bottom of my heart that a church that reads banned books, plans inclusive spaces, welcomes diverse opinions, and is trying to learn how to fight fair is the place I want to be. And I think that we have things to offer this community that they don't get sitting at home on Sunday morning. Also, we serve a mean chicken dinner, and I hope you'll all join me for that right after this. Amen, and blessed be. Our final hymn this morning is number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. So who is passing the offering baskets now? Is it Robin? All right. I wasn't sure if you'd given that up or not. I'm right there with you. I feel you. As Robin passes around our offering basket, it is that time of day. I do want to know that if this is your first time here, please do not feel you need to give, for this service is our gift to you. Also, we have all of our website stuff is still working, so Givelify, PayPal, etc. And if you cannot give financially, but you want to give your time, talent, or energy, just let any of us know, because we will put you to work. Robin always has work. Yeah, well, that's because Peg's working. Yeah, Peg's working, exactly. Will you join with me this morning in our offering prayer? May this offering equip us to inspire love and seek justice. Amen. All right, Alex, do you have any announcements for me? Awesome. Come up and do it. And I got it. Go for it.
All right, I'm gonna keep my mask on. Hopefully, you all can still hear me. I made this announcement last week. I'm gonna make it again this week. We have extended our pledge campaign. So up until the 25th, you can still make your pledge to the church for this upcoming year. For those of you that don't know, this may be obvious, but I'm gonna talk about it anyways. About why we do pledges over just giving money. Pledges let us make a budget, which you all will be voting on in our congregational meeting on Sunday the 28th. And that budget allows us to plan for things and plan our expenses and know that we have enough money to pay our bills, and we can then use that money for other things. So if we know we can pay our bills, then we can put money in other places and do other things that we want to do. We can fund RE and have more teachers and have more supplies for those teachers and do fun things there. We can make sure we can continue to pay Claudia to do wonderful things. We can have guest speakers from various places because we pay them too. So things like that, and knowing that the money will be there. Not necessarily having a giant chunk of change that you hand over immediately. You could do that if you want. I'm not going to stop you, I promise. But making a pledge to continue that so that we know where we stand and we know what we can afford. And we know what we can do, and we can build a budget that aligns with that. So if you haven't made a pledge, I would encourage you to do so. If you want to increase your pledge, you can just submit another form. That's completely allowed up until the 25th. There you go. Thank you.
All right. So because we are dashing out to chicken dinner, so the Moose Lodge, immediately after this, it's Moose Lodge, Edwardsville, for folks that are Googling it. Yes, people are nodding. Okay, so Moose Lodge in Edwardsville, just Google it. You can take your directions straight over there. And we're doing a fundraiser chicken dinner over there. I invite everybody to join us. I will be passing this around next week. So we're doing a social justice campaign in the fall. So we'll be talking about that next week. I won't get into it today because everybody's got to rush out. We do have to break down today, yes?
Just the fellowship hall.
Just the fellowship hall.
We can leave this stuff.
Sweet. Okay, cool. So we just need a couple folks to take 2 minutes and help us break down out there. Also, we have, thanks to our new board member, Amy, for coming up with this idea. We were talking about how we're all a bunch of weirdos and nerds, and she's like, "Your weird is welcome here." And I said, that is a t-shirt. So if anybody wants one, you need to just see me. Okay, I see Robert. So if you want one, you just need to let me know because I have to make them. But yeah, so these are available now for you to wear out in public and have people go, "What do you mean by that?" And you can be like, "Oh, let me tell you. Let me tell you about my minister. She is as weird as they come." So we're trying to do that and get just people events so we can wear them during events. You can wear them out in public, do things with them. We really want to get the word out this year. We're also going to be having, as part of our social justice campaign, we're going to be having a bunch of flyers with the new flower on them that folks can hand out, and it's a register to vote. So it'll have information for folks on how to register to vote in Missouri and in Illinois. So just to tell people, hey, if you don't vote, you really need to this year. Like, this is really, really, really important this year. All right, so that is what we have for announcements. Again, winner, go get your chicken dinner. I'm not cooking it, so it should be great. All right, I invite you all to join me now in reciting our prayers. We extinguish our chalice. The light of truth and meaning cannot be put out. We are the keepers of this flame until we meet again. The more things change, the more what we need stays the same. May we each find love, be loved, and give love to others here, and may we reach out to the community outside these walls so that all who need us can find us as we grow our beloved community today and in the years to come. Let's eat. Amen, and blessed be.